Hello, my name is Dr. Douglas Sadownick, and I've been a professor and a therapist for 30 years, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My goal is to take all of that I've learned in 30 years of providing therapy and being a professor at Antioch University and founding the nation's first LGBT specialization in clinical psychology. The title of today's talk is WTF is an I statement, how making an I statement can save our lives and change society. I know it's a big statement. I'm actually going to be giving the talk live at Antioch University. The link for the RSVP is in the description section. You can show up in person or you can show up via Zoom. We'd love to have you. Sometimes if I get upset, I am hot-tempered, I am from the Bronx, I am a New Yorker, I am an Aries, I will lose my SHIT. And what will come out of me are not I statements, but you statements. You didn't do this. You never do this. You always let me down. After a certain point, I realized, whoa, Doug, you are actually not developing self-focus. You're not looking inside and seeing what actually you're feeling and thinking from an I position. We as human beings, because of how we're organized, because of how our feeling function is, we have the capacity to move away from retaliation to remorse, to being human. Give you a brief little history lesson to describe why making an I statement is so difficult. I statements are the bread and butter of family systems therapy. They are promoted by the Virginia Satir and Murray Bowen. The fundamental thing that families need to do is individuals need to make I statements about what's going on with them. That's difficult because we're not really organized to do that. Instead, what happens are symptoms, triangles, anxiety, diseases, all types of compromise formations to let the feelings out when an I statement would accomplish so much. But very often people don't feel comfortable making I statements because they feel that the person on the receiving end will not reciprocate. So in family systems therapy, what we often need to do is to teach the other family members, the mothers, the fathers, and so forth, to be able to calm down, calm their nervous systems down. See, why is that so difficult? I'm going to explain to you a little brief history about why that's difficult, but I would be ever so appreciative if you would smash that like button if you're enjoying how I'm beginning to talk about this stuff, and also subscribe. It helps. For the vast majority of human history, obviously we've been living in tribes and groups. We've been group-minded. It has not been available to us because of the way that the neocortex has come online with the other two parts of the brain relatively slowly in human history. We've been around probably for 2 million years, and maybe the neocortex came online about 75,000 years ago. The neocortex is the place that reasons, that says I, that makes I statements, that can evaluate, that can calculate, that can delay gratification. That's relatively new in human history and human development. We've been mostly group-minded. We have this other cultural formation, which is called the Protestant Reformation. We began to realize that the domination that the Catholic Church had over people's consciousness needed to be interrogated. The Pope should not be the main authority. The authority should actually be inside the individual. It's probably best exemplified by the figure René Descartes, who says this really important and often sometimes controversial statement, I think, therefore I am. That's different from I believe in God, therefore I am, or I believe in the family, therefore I am. That begins to develop a whole new way of thinking that allows reason to be primary and to be divine. And we get the scientific revolution, technology, emergence of secularism. This accounts for the rise of democracy, which has, of course, to do with individual freedom, with the French Revolution, with the American Revolution, and of course, the Age of Reason has a shadow side because it becomes too much about the head and not enough about the heart. So we see the rise of Romanticism, which emergence of Sigmund Freud and C.G. Jung, the main pioneers of depth psychology, who help us to see that we have two parts of our mind that need to become in relationship to each other. The conscious part, the ego in psychology is a good thing, and the unconscious, and how the ego, now that it's stronger, that it's broken free from the family, that it's broken free from the church, that it's broken free from the state relatively, can now begin to face the unconscious in a way that had never been previously possible before, hence the birth of a new kind of human being. And it's worth mentioning that this development of human individuality emerges exactly in sync with the rise of gay liberation, freedom from slavery and Reconstruction, and the first wave of feminism. So there's a lot happening at the end of the 19th century that inaugurates the birth of the sovereign individual. All that, as you can see, is relatively recent. So very often, actually, even in therapy, it becomes very, very difficult to invite the client to actually have personal agency over their own therapy. Often they defer that to the therapist. That's not a terrible thing. We need to work with that. Freud calls that the transference. The development of the I takes practice. And it often occurs to us that we lost our I, or our sense of self, after we've had the fight, after we've acted out, after we've done something to another person that was actually unethical and inhumane. But what's so important about this is that individuals working on their own stuff can really help pioneer a new type of humanity that is developed on the inside, differentiated itself from the mother's voice, from the father's voice, from the voice of the inner critic, to finally stand on its own 2 feet and say, I feel, or I am, not in a narcissistic sense. That's old-fashioned. That's not actually the I. This is the I in relationship to a community. The community inside, the psyche, and the community on the outside. To become a participant in the world stage is a psychological act. And you can practice this at home. You can notice if you're fussing about something someone did to you, rather than when they come home and say, you didn't take out the garbage, or you didn't make lunch for the kids, or you didn't have sex with me, or you don't love me, which is often what people often say, or do you love me? What it would actually be in the relationship if you could take full responsibility for your own existence, your own feelings, and say, you know, I've been contemplating today that I get frustrated when I come home and the garbage is not taken out. And I notice that I tend to scold you and I really want to shame you. And that's really terrible because that comes from my own unfinished family business. I'm going to take more responsibility and say, you know, take out the garbage. I feel a certain type of way. And sometimes I'm scared of telling you because I'm not very regulated and it comes out more messy than I wish it would. And then you overreact and it comes out more messy for you than you wish it would. And then we're back to square one. We get hurt, we go in our own corners, and then the next day we act like nothing ever happened. How about if we change our lives and change our way of doing that kind of stuff immediately? And next time you're feeling a certain type of way and you want to blame the person with whom you're most close, breathe, reflect, contact me, contact your therapist, contact your journal, contact your God, contact somebody else except that person. Take a few minutes to self-reflect. Write it down how you're feeling, and we can actually keep up with AI the more we keep up with our own minds, our own unconscious minds, and our own psyches for the good of ourselves, for the good of people we love, and for the good of the world. Forward to checking in with you soon. Have a great day. Good luck. Take care of yourself. Do your inner work and write in your journal.